Hello, hello, hello. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Trio of Positivity podcast. My name is Christian. I am joined by one of my lovely co-hosts, Miller. Boopin is apparently having jet lag.
He did make it home.
He did make it home, but okay.
We're not important enough.
If this is your first time listening to the podcast, we are a Chicago Bears podcast, hoping to bring you some positivity into your lives. However, in previous Chicago fashion, it's very difficult to find. Miller, how are you? How was your weekend?
Oh, I'm fabulous. Thank you for asking, Chris. It was a lovely, lovely weekend. Oh,
It was great seeing you.
It was great seeing you as well.
We got to hang out yesterday at a bar. What was the name of the bar?
It's called Standard Bar and Grill on Milwaukee.
Yep.
It's a great time.
We weren't paid to bring them up, but
no, it was a great buffalo chicken wrap.
I wanted to try that, but I got recommended the burger.
You wouldn't be able to handle it because you can't eat spice because
I don't.
Something that I'm not going to say on the podcast.
It was a great time. So today's episode, we're going to recap the Bears' Victory Monday over the Washington Commanders. Monday! Once we're done talking about that, we are going to discuss the next matchup against the Saints. We're going to get into our predictions, our positivity score, which I have a feeling it's going to be good. Might be the best positivity score we might have combined here. Spoiler alert. And then after all of that, and we do our predictions, we are going to have our fantasy recap. Some news coming in on that front, which I'm sure Miller is going to have a lot to discuss. You can find us under Facebook at Facebook Trio Positivity Podcast, on the X or Twitter, as other people go, at Trio Positivity. We're on YouTube of Trio of Positivity Podcast, and I still don't know. Maybe TikTok, maybe. I don't know. And we do own a domain, but we just don't use it. TrioPositivity.com. Don't bother going into it. Let's get right into it. Miller, it is week 6 in the NFL.
Technically, it was.
Oh, it was. You're right, because typically we record on a different day, and it's still technically that week.
No, that's not true either.
That's very true. That's a save on my end. So we'll just get started before we go into the recap. What are your thoughts on what happened last week in the NFL?
So for me, week 6, it just prompted a little question in my head, and I'm just looking at the current status of multiple teams, and I'm sitting here and I'm going like, is 2024 QB draft, is that one of the best quarterback drafts in NFL history? I mean, take a look. You have the Bears are currently at 3-2, which Caleb was a number 1 pick. The Commanders are 3-3, in which Daniels was the number 2 pick. And obviously they went to the NFC Championship game last year. You have Drake May of the Patriots that are currently sitting at 4-2. You have Michael Penix from the Falcons currently sitting at 3-2, who is, I believe, the 9th pick. And then you have JJ McCarthy. Obviously, he hasn't played much yet, but the Vikings are sitting 3-2. And then you have the Broncos and Bo Nix at Denver, who is the middle of the first round, and they're sitting at 4-2. Every single one of these teams who has a quarterback from 2024 are currently at or above 500. So is that the best quarterback draft ever? I know it's early, but like, geez, this success of this draft so far is pretty much off the charts.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Although I will say, how long do you think it takes before we start grading drafts? Do you think second year is like a good standard?
No.
Okay. No. How many years before we can actually have this conversation of this is the best quarterback draft class?
Well, if you're going to be a Debbie Downer here.
No, not a Debbie Downer.
You legitimately probably have to get 5 or 6 years in for quarterback ranking if you're going to go that. Like, grading a draft is probably 2 to 3 years, probably 3 years at a minimum. I should say probably 3 or 4 to really understand that draft class and grading that draft class. Don't tell Ben that, because I mean, I think he's like months. Like, after they make the pick, if that guy's hurt going into training camp, he's already a bust. So we're not, but I think realistically it's about 3 to 4 years to judge a draft class. But realistically, I did a little bit of diving, and the only other comparable I didn't go all the way back, but just of recent memory is the 2018 draft. And if you remember that, that's the one that started off with Baker Mayfield. It had Josh Allen, Sam Darnold in it, Lamar Jackson. So that's that one. And that one is definitely, although there's no Super Bowl winners in that one yet, it's definitely up there right now with the reemergence of Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold. Because remember, they were busts in that draft for the longest time, right with Josh Rosen, who now is, I believe, in sales. But they were right there in busts, but they turned their career around thanks to who knows why. But that one's looking pretty good as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I can I like the 2018 one a lot. Off the top of your head, just wondering, if you don't know the answer, then you don't know. Which class do you think has had the most championships? And we don't want to include Tom Brady because he wasn't necessarily a first, second, or even a fifth rounder. Um, but what would you say right now of the quarterback classes that you can think of has more Super Bowl wins?
Well, if
Has
we're
to be
not
Mahomes,
including
right?
Tom Brady, it's probably the Mahomes. That's what I was going to go with.
So that includes Mitch
I
Trubisky.
know. Mahomes, the third quarterback drafted from that class.
Okay,
Behind what Trubisky and then also Watson. What a stud late pair that was.
oh yeah. All right. For me, there's two things that I noticed right away, and then I have one question that I want to bring up to you after. Baker Mayfield is that dude. You talked a little bit about him. He is Social media is pushing for him to be an MVP candidate. I am one of those people as well. I think he is doing a lot for that team. Um, and then the second thing that I can't believe I'm going to say, the Colts are the number 1 seed in the AFC right now, and the Pats are right behind them, tied with the Bills. Not on my bingo card for this season.
Not on my bingo card. I would agree to that. Um, the Colts are definitely the surprise of the year for sure. I don't know. I know we have a loyal listener that's a big Colts fan, but I just can't get the stink of the Vikings off of this team, and I don't know if I'll be able to. Like the Vikings were so good last year with Sam Darnold, and then they got to the playoffs and they fell off a cliff. It's going to be tough for me to see Daniel Jones not do the same thing. As well as they're playing in the regular season, and they seem to have it all together. We all know the playoffs are a different monster.
Yep.
And Daniel Jones, he does have a playoff win to his record though. But I don't know. It's I, yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Jonathan Taylor, hopefully they don't run him to the ground. But he may be able to carry him. But yeah, seeing Daniel Jones at quarterback in the playoffs ain't gonna scare nobody.
Yeah. The last thing that I wanted to touch on, Brian Callahan of the Titans was fired, and then Adam Schefter tweeted this out, which I don't know how to understand or take this. I just find it as very interesting. But the last 4 quarterbacks that were taken with the number 1 overall pick saw their head coach get fired during their rookie campaign. 2021 was Trevor Lawrence with Urban Meyer. 2023 was Bryce Young with Frank Wright. 2024, Caleb with Matty Eberflus, which he's not doing that great in Dallas. And 2025 with Cam Ward. Is the first pick quarterback a jinx, and is that something we should look into next year? See who drafts a quarterback first overall, if that's a thing?
I think it's more so to do with the expectations set on a rookie quarterback, which is probably not the greatest way of going. But you have to imagine, like, if you just focused on the Bears, right? They brought in Caleb Williams, the number 1 overall quarterback. And what happened? Well, Jaden Daniels looked like a complete superstar MVP candidate, and Caleb Williams is sitting there, and he looks okay. He's not really developing. We know what Eberflus was because we had him for a few years. So I think that expectation was, we're going to keep building, keep getting better in the season. And I think there's just some quarterbacks that can't just do it. They can't just be the guy right off the bat. And when that happens, when you have a guy like specifically Matt Eberflus that has been there for a little while and has not won, right? He didn't win with Fields, but like, and then the expectation is we're going to get better and we get worse. Well, who's the first to go? Him. I mean, you look at Brian Callahan for Titans. I mean, last year they weren't very good, and they got Cam Ward, and what did they expect? A huge turnaround just because they got a quarterback, and it looked flat. I think sooner or later these organizations need to realize that you need to get on the same page with GM, quarterbacks, and
Coordinator.
and head coaches, especially when you're talking about the number one overall pick. Now, if you're talking about like middling pick, fine, but when you're talking about the number one overall pick, you got to be in line because you know that guy you're not going to bring him in to sit him behind a quarterback and then just let him mature. You brought him in to be your leader, you be your guy, so you need to mend everything together and get them all on the same page rather than putting them, stacking them, and losing them and becoming chaotic like we experienced last year.
I was listening to Pat McAfee show this morning, and Bruce Arians, from the previous coach of Tampa, he was on there. He made this comment, and I don't know how true it's going to be moving forward, but he made the comment saying, when you draft the number one quarterback overall, you're officially becoming a project. And you need a quarterback because of the amount of games that they're playing. It wasn't like in previous years where these quarterbacks have maybe 30 games, 40 games under their belt. Some are coming in with 8, 10. Like, it's not a lot. So you need additional years in the NFL to develop. So he's saying 3 years that a coach and a quarterback need to be tied together in order to see accurate development. We've seen a lot of quarterbacks. We have not seen a quarterback tied to a new coach from the get-go. It always seems to be a career saver, almost, if you want to put it that way, where they draft and then the coach is like, yeah, I can work with that, instead of like, hey, maybe I'm not the best fit for that guy, we need to go somewhere else. I think this, with Caleb, this might be the first coach that Caleb is actually adjusting, which we're going to talk a little bit on the recap. He's adjusting to his game plan, where a lot of people probably didn't think that was possible. So I'm intrigued by that. I think 3 years might be the new norm. I don't know if teams who have a bad record can wait that long. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, but of the quarterbacks that I had mentioned, or I'm sorry, of the coaches, I think the only one that was maybe not in a position where he could have gone a long time was Urban Meyer. But I think I can't think
Well,
of.
he was a different cat
But
because
that's what I'm saying. I
he
think.
decided to stay at the bar a little too long and get
Well,
his
yeah, we
juices
get it.
squeezed.
Yeah. All right. I think that's a good segue. Go into Urban Meyer into the Bears. It's a Bears victory Tuesday, Miller. The Bears beat Washington Commanders. Miller, what was the score?
I believe the score was 25-24, Chicago Bears.
Oh my God, why does that sound familiar? Do you know?
Why does it sound familiar? Remind me.
It's the same exact score the Bears beat the Raiders last week.
That
It is. It is, according to some news, it is the second time, or the second team, to win consecutive games by 1 point with the same final score
in NFL history. Look at that.
Yeah. It is kind of nuts. Currently on a 3-game win streak.
3 games, baby.
There was a stat that after the last 12 games after a bye, the Bears were 1-11. They are now 2-11. So I'm gonna get us started. I asked the question: what was one reason the Bears won the game? We committed to the run game. I think that was huge. It allowed for play action. It allowed for, even though we're going to get to it on a later point, there were some questionable calls, even with the time that we had. DeAndre Swift just looked amazing. And the other running backs that we had on the team looked good. This was one game where I was not even questioning some of the runs that I saw. So, Miller, what do you think is the reason the Bears won the game?
Turnovers. 3
You were not
turnovers,
wrong.
1 turnover at the end of the game that basically allowed us to be in the position that we were in to win in the field goal. But turnover battle again. I mean, I think we have 11 turnovers in 3 games, if I'm remembering that correctly. I think it was 3 for the Cowboys, 4 for the Raiders, and 10 turnovers, and then 3 for this week. So, I mean, we're winning the turnover battle consistently. And when you do that, more often than not, you're going to come out ahead. So, turnovers, man.
So with that being said, what did the Bears do right? I think that's kind of a similar question of what's a reason the Bears won.
But I'll go.
Go for it.
See, you give a lot of credit to them sticking with the run. I don't think Ben Johnson is a guy that's going to go away from the run. I think the difference in this game is we actually were successful running the ball, which is kind of weird to say.
Mm.
All I know is that the offensive line was creating some of the biggest holes I've seen all year. And DeAndre Swift, to his credit, was running through them. And we were successful. I think we averaged over 7 a clip running the ball. And it's just like, it was very good to see. He was over 100 yards. DeAndre was, and just like they were a solid force running the ball. And it seemed like every time, every play that they ran, it was unique. It wasn't like just a run up the gut. We were flipping it. We were doing run to the right. We were running to the left. We were running inside. We were running outside. We were doing a little bit of everything. And Ben Johnson was playing a lot with his tight ends to make it kind of seem a little different. And while Caleb Williams isn't DeAndre Swift, but if you saw his interview, they asked him about the touchdown run, and Caleb was talking about, he was just staring at the play, and he was like, I don't think this is going to work in his head. Because he's like, there are 3 defenders on the right hand side of the ball where I'm supposed to run, and there's no one to block them. But because of how the play was set up, with them bringing in a tight end, making it seem like the run was going to go right up the gut, then they kicked outside. The whole defensive line collapsed, in which case it led to DeAndre Swift only having to block 1 cornerback and Caleb able to run in. So it's just like, it's a lot of those schemes that Ben Johnson is running to really make it catch the defense off guard. And at the end of the day, that was kind of what our expectation was as fans when we brought him in from Detroit, and he's this fabulous play caller. That's the type of stuff that we want to see, and it's nice that we're actually able to see it.
I know we criticized a lot in the win against the Raiders, where I think you and I can probably both agree, if that if weather didn't play into the game with the last turnover that the Bears got, we would probably be talking a different story. But the fact that we were able to move the ball to get to that field goal, that was probably one of the better drives that I think I can recall. Would you say it was better than Oakland's?
I wouldn't say it was a better drive, but I think what I would agree with you on is that's probably the most dominant run drive we've seen
Yes,
since that Oakland
that's a
drive.
great point of
Like
putting.
we
Yeah,
did have, I think it was the Oakland one, or maybe it was the Cowboys one where they just literally ran it like 11 times, right? But that drive to end the Commanders game was right there too, because we had a moment there when we were in the bar watching the game. We're like, is this going to be like the Colts game where they just settled for a 58-yard field goal only to get lucky with a personal foul? They didn't do that. They put it in the running back's hands, and him and the offensive line ran the ball right into the Commanders' defense. And there's another thing that came out that I was listening to today from Ben Johnson in his news conference talking about that drive. Basically, he went to Caleb over his headset, he said, and he basically was like, Caleb, we're putting the ball in the running back's hands. Tell the big guys to be ready. We're going to run it down their throats and win the game. And
love
that's
that.
exactly what they did.
Love that. So we got the game-winning kick with Jake Moody, who went 4 of 5. Yes, that Jake Moody. Which, funny enough, he was kicking to the team that had Debo on the other side. Which I guess there's poetic justice in that. I saw some of the clips. I just wanted to bring that up. Santos was injured. Do we have a kicking controversy? Do we have a kicker controversy or not yet? What do you think?
If my inkling, okay, I wouldn't say if. My inkling is that Cairo might be out for a few weeks.
If he keeps, if this
I think
continues to
Cairo
happen, he
may
might be
be
gone
out
for
for a few
he might be gone
weeks.
for some time. All right. You know what? I'm excited. This is the one time I'm excited. We're gonna talk about the offense. However, because the Bears won, I'm gonna be pushing to have Miller's glazing minute sooner rather than later. I've been thinking of ways of introducing it to you, but I feel this is just better.
Hello, everybody. It's
Wait.
Miller's Glazing Minute. What is this?
Oh, thank you so much, AI music generator. We're probably going to get sued because we don't have the rights to that. But that is the
It's fine.
new
We'll make it
intro
work.
for Miller's Glazing Minute. Your time starts now.
All right. I was a little distracted, but it's all good. Your mom's coming into your room. All good. Hi, Mrs. Nunez. Okay, restart the timer.
All right, fine. Timer starts. 1 now.
Miller's Glazing Minute is here. And it's going to be a doozy, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I could sit here and I could take the Troy Aikman route and call everything that Caleb Williams did lucky. And he couldn't make that throw. And why is he throwing that ball there? Blah, 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 blah. But that wouldn't be a glazing minute, would it be? No, because Caleb Williams put on the performance of the day yesterday. What a stud. He's been let me just say this. This is the best quarterback performance to start the year in Bears franchise history. He is literally the first quarterback for the Bears to throw for at least 200 passing yards and a passing TD in each of the team's first 6 games of the season.
And we're bringing it back. That was Miller's Glazing Minute. He did not get too far into it, but it gives me a chance to play this jingle again. Okay, we're not going to have the whole time for the jingle, but that was Miller's Glazing Minute.
I got through the heart of it.
Yeah,
I went a lot faster than last time.
Minute's a long time. I don't know what you're talking about, brother. So let's get into the conversation. Again, that's Miller's uninterrupted minute. He can say whatever he wants as he glazes on any kind of conversation with Caleb Williams in it. He got robbed of a beautiful touchdown to Rome. However, there were a couple plays that I would scream multiple times that some people were certainly wide open in certain situations. The one that got me the most was he was running to his right, and there was a person at the pylon, wide open, doesn't throw it.
I thought you were going to go the other one.
No, well, the other one I think is self-explanatory. I mean, if you want to talk about that, you can.
You're talking about a 2-point conversion, for the record.
Not the one I was talking about.
Okay, what were you talking about?
It's the one where he's rolling to the right, and then he runs it for like a couple yards, and then he could have thrown it. There was a person that was open on the first pylon. He was by himself. I don't think that was the 2-point conversion.
No, it was the 2-point conversion, dude.
Someone will correct us.
The two ones that I remember is the 2-point conversion, in which case it was, I think it was Kyle Monangai, and it was Cole Kmet ran a little inside slant route, took the cornerback. Kyle Monangai snuck out of the backfield, and he was wide open in the flat right by the pylon, which is kind of what you referred to. The other one, which I'm going to stick with my guns here, was the scramble play. I believe it was 3rd and 4. We were at like the 40-yard line of Washington, and Caleb scrambled to his right, and he was pretty set. It seemed like with his body language, he was set on running the ball, but Rome had a go route and he basically beat the defenders, threw his hand up in the air. He was a mile away. It was a wide open, it would be easy touchdown pass. I agree with that aspect, but I just think in order for Caleb to gather himself and make the throw after being totally in that mindset of running for the first down, which he got, it would have been a little tough. But that was the two egregious ones that he missed, not throw related. And then there's a few missed throws as well that he made.
I love how you
that
say
are- that-
not throw related, and the following sentence is he missed a couple throws.
Well, I wanted to talk about the one on the sideline where he ripped it, but he missed the guy and threw it over his head, and he was wide open on the sidelines. It wasn't the best performance.
I mean, it was okay. As much as I would love criticizing and talking smack, it was okay. He did everything he needed to do on that last quarter, which I am questioning some of the fourth down calls.
Wait, what did you say? He did everything he needed to do in the last quarter? Oh, yeah. You mentioned that. I missed this in Clay's minute. So
no. We agreed. You can't. That's adding more to the minute. You can't do that. We agree.
Well, you can interrupt me. This year for Caleb Williams in the fourth quarter, he's 21 for 32. That's a 65.6% passer percentage, 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and a passer rating of 113. That's in fourth quarter play. Boy.
Yeah, I don't care. I still stand by that. The fourth down play, I thought about it.
Oh God, we're going to talk about this. This makes me sick.
I think Johnson knows he can run the ball on 4th and 1. Maybe he didn't know the last 3 weeks. I think he knows, like, hey, we at least gotta,
You watch that play over, and it's just so sickening. It's so sickening because, like, the defensive line just parted. Like, literally, like, Roschon Johnson just runs through this huge fucking hole. It's like all they had to do was hand it to him, and he would have been there.
We had a Roschon Johnson sighting.
We did. That was funny in the bar because everybody was looking at me when I was cheering for like a 3-yard rush just because Roschon Johnson got a handoff. God. Wonder if that'll start to happen a little more. Should.
So, Miller, right now, given your glaze is over, even though you extended it by a couple seconds, if you extend it, I think I'm going to reduce it on the next.
I didn't extend it. It was a separate segment that you brought up. You talked about his performance in the fourth quarter.
But that's still
I was just
glazing.
adding.
That's still you glazing.
So I can't talk about my quarterback for the rest of the show.
No, that's the reason we give you a whole minute uninterrupted.
No, that's stupid.
That was the whole premise of the segment.
There's a difference between glazing and throwing some stats when you bring it up. Totally different things.
Right. When I bring it up, I could have said it.
You talked about his fourth quarter performance. So I was just adding
extending the glaze. You're extending the glaze. Miller was 25-24 with a last minute kick. But who would you say is a standout performer of the game?
I want to go with the offensive line. I just think what they did, specifically Darnell Wright, who I've hated on in the past because of his penalties, but man, he came out this game and he was a bulldozer. I think I saw I think he allowed 1 pressure this game, but other than that, I think he had a pretty fucking false score up in the 80s, I think, if I remember that correctly. But there are multiple plays there in this game that Darnell Wright was taking out 2, possibly almost 3 defenders on a play. The whole line, like I mentioned earlier, the holes for DeAndre Swift to run through were just gaping. And it was good to see because obviously we've been one of the worst rush offenses in the NFL this year. So being able to do that on a defense did help to hopefully really get this offense going.
And for me, I have to go back to Swift. Catching the ball, running the ball, he did everything. I feel like this was a game where he kind of had the team on his back and he's like, just use me until I can't anymore, which is your favorite line with running backs.
Yep.
I was very happy to see this performance from him. More or less, just I felt like I don't know if Washington just didn't know what to do, but I feel like the offensive line played really well to kind of give them um, that running game, I guess you could say. But for me, I think it was just the fact that we were able to use him in the catching aspect, and then he caught that 55-yarder for a touchdown, which he did a nice little two-step, like a stop and go to get that opening.
Oh, that was such a beautiful touchdown
Yeah,
pass.
yeah.
Such a beautiful run by Swift.
Miller, what would you say was a good performance from the Commanders, though? I have to give props to their offense because at one point they just did not look like they were going to do anything on against our defense, and then they ended up taking the lead.
I mean, the only person that you can really give any props to is Jaden Daniels, because at the end of the day, when you're talking about their team, they're down two of the three top receivers on that team, so they're throwing it to scrubs. So Jaden really played well. Threw for 3 touchdowns, threw for a little over 200. They had about 270 total yards with his rushing. I mean, the running game was pretty much kept in check, other than a few long runs from Jaden. But like realistically, um, we did well as far as stopping the run. Well, considering it's the best rushing team in the NFL, I think we did well.
Yeah, we got interception from Brisker. We got the fumble recovery, which I don't know how that happens. I guess the ball was very slippery on that third one. It looked like it was on his hands, and then it like got thrown into the chest of the player. So I'm not entirely sure how that one was gonna go, but I still got to give props to them. They played really good, but there was a hindrance, I believe, and it's something that I want to bring up. The refs were fucking awful. They were awful on both sides.
They were pretty bad.
There was even questionable calls that on replay made it look a lot worse. I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know if replay is now meant to be slower in the NFL to show like what's actually happening. Maybe if it was a fast pace, you might miss it. I don't know, but the refs were horrible.
I mean, realistically, the replay is a hindrance to the referees, right? Because these guys are doing what they can to watch these plays in action at full speed, and then we get to see the luxury of seeing a replay and then criticizing them. So it's a tough gig. With that being said, there are some things, and it's just like it gets back to what we always talk about. No matter what the sport is, it's just like let these fucking people play. And I was listening to something today. I don't remember who it was, but they're just like, if a penalty isn't impacting a play, why are we calling it? Like realistically, like if there's a little hold on the other side of the field that has nothing to do with the running play, it's like, is it really the most important thing? No.
The
Like,
only thing I can
just
think of is that it's to prevent shit from happening.
I mean,
And
you're it's fair. I mean, the
it's like
argument isn't strong on my end, but it's just like
no,
the
but I mean, I
principle.
like if you're like if the roughing the passer one is what kind of gets me a little bit. Um,
Just today's days. It's just
I think that
today's
has to be
bro.
challengeable. I think that has to be a call that has to be challengeable in the future. That's the only way to have the refs kind of get it right.
They're still not going to get it right.
But either way, if you
They
have a
tried the challenging of pass interference and they didn't get it right, or went away. It's going to be the same thing with these. I mean, the only thing I don't think roughing the passer is, but one thing that should be challengeable, to your point, is face masks. Those are pretty yes or no. Like everything else has a little gray area. Okay, did he hit this first? Did he hit this first? Okay, blah blah blah. But like a face mask, like if a motherfucker pulled on someone's face mask, it's pretty
yeah.
blatant. So why isn't that challengeable? But I don't know. The
Well,
refs were definitely bad. They missed the bad call with Rome. Um, I don't. I don't know if it's a bad call or not. It seemed like a bad call. I think everybody is in fairly agreement that it is, but what is the motherfucker like a fucking foot behind them where he needs to be? Like, really? Is that going to really affect anything? Like, come on. It's just there was the bad call that on the Commander's side was I think it was Zacchaeus when he was blocking somebody, or I think on a swift run, and he just pulled the jersey, and you could see the jersey out, and they still didn't call that.
Hey, that's the perk of wearing the gloves that match the jersey color. I keep hearing that. That seems to work. Just
Maybe.
keep
But yeah,
going.
we had like 9 for 84 penalties and 5 for 40. So we need to get that cleaned up. And it's just like overall, this team, you really can see the potential. And it's just it's interesting the trajectory that they're on because these like the Dallas game was pretty clean for the most part. Obviously, I think CD getting hurt so early helped us in that facet. But like these last two games against the Raiders and now against the Commanders, like overall, this team makes a lot of mistakes, like top to bottom. Like the defense has its problems. Like Wright, I think it's Nashawn Wright. He had 2 horrible penalties in this game. Whatever you think of the penalties, they were penalties. They were called on the field. And then he comes up with the big fumble recovery at the end. Like the defensive line isn't getting home for pretty much 3/4 of the game. Then finally in the fourth quarter, we get some pressure and good things happen. Caleb struggles at time. He has an up and down game. Like the only thing that was fairly consistent was like the offensive line and Swift for the most
Yep.
part. But it
Yep.
was just very much up and down. And special teams was pretty much perfect except that block kick. But still, I mean,
The
4
block
field
kick,
goals in that.
I brought it up on at the bar. I was more amazed at how you know how most blocks it'll be like up here or like the forearm and whatnot. That one was right here. Impressive enough, but you know what? None of that matters. The NFC North with this Bears win is the only division in the NFL that has every team over 500. We'll figure out if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But now we're going to move forward. But before we move forward, we have to talk about our positivity score. Last week, we were both on the up and up. Miller had a 6.5 or a 6.5. I was at a solid 6, which is a D if you go to school. Miller, where are we?
I guess I have to move it up because that was a huge win. It was a revenge game against Washington, who stole our hearts last year. So I'm just going to put it at a little 7, just a little inkling there. Like you
A little
mentioned,
inkling. Okay.
it appears like we're going to be in another dogfight in this division. Who knows where is it going to go? I think we are now third as betting favorites to win the North for whatever that means. We're ahead of the Vikings there, even though we have the same record. There's things to like. I just hope we can put it all together. We'll see. What about yourself, sir?
See, here's the thing. We're on a 3-game win streak, and if I stick to the 6, it makes me look like a ass. You know,
Well, not if you have a good explanation why you stick to the 6.
my honest opinion, I'm probably gonna follow your lead. I'm gonna say 6.5.
Follower.
The only reason, the only reason that it's a 6.5 right now is I think the last turnover saved us. We don't know what would have happened, obviously.
Yeah, we do. It was sub 5 minutes. Caleb performs his best. It doesn't matter when he got the ball and what he needed to
He
do.
had the ball
would have scored.
beforehand, and it did not go that great either.
That was at 7 minutes left.
It's still in the fourth
I said it
quarter.
in the bar.
Still
I
in the
said
fourth
it in the
quarter.
bar. It wasn't Caleb time yet. Too much time was on the clock. It wasn't Caleb time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Miller,
If we
you
were
want
within one
to let the
score,
crowd know what else was said at the bar?
no,
Wide
maybe
left.
wide left. That was a good call.
I called that the kicker was going to miss wide left. All right,
Yeah,
that's going to end
he
it
didn't
on
miss wide left, but he hit the post.
He
And missed.
it went left.
Nice. It was nice. It was definitely very nice.
Yeah, I'll take full credit for that. All right, Miller, we're going to move forward. The Bears play the Saints at Soldier Field at 12 o'clock noon Central. We have a good win streak going. What do the Bears need to do to win this game?
Hi, Bubby. I am so torn with this game. Like, I'm in a survivor pool, and I'm like, do I take the Bears? What do they need to do to win this game? Play like they did this week? Like, it doesn't need
That's
to
such a
be
horrible
pretty.
answer, but I completely agree with you.
Like, it doesn't need to be pretty in order to beat the Saints. They have one win in the season. They're 1-5, I believe. They have a second year quarterback that has shown pretty much little to no promise.
Well,
Alvin Kamara is getting old. Their other running back is young-ish, and Kendre Miller. You still have Chris Olave, who's still a talented receiver, but the quarterback can't get him the ball. Shout out to Kunovich, and I'll say gotta watch Tyson Hill. Make sure he doesn't beat us and go for. I think he didn't he like destroy us last time he was. I think he had like 3 touchdowns against us one time. But realistically, we're the better team. Like the Saints are one of the worst teams in the league, and we've proven that we're better. So as long as we play competent football, we shouldn't have a hard time winning this game. But what I really want to say is fix your shit and play a fucking great game. Like we've had 2 struggle buses as fan bases coming down to the last field goal. It would be nice if we had a nice fucking win here. Got shit together. We're at home. Good running game, good passing game, good defense, and really just put it to the Saints and show this league that we're here and we're relevant.
yeah, you kind of took the words right out of my mouth. I honestly think one thing we just genuinely need to do is just keep having the O-line play exactly how they played this last game to give Swift and anyone in the back an opportunity to get some runs in. I think this game kind of showed what a running game can look like with a good passing game. I think in the past it's been very difficult to kind of find that balance because it's always been hit or miss. It's like the run game goes good and we seem to have a good game, and the run game goes bad or non-existent, and it just kind of shuts everything else out. Um, a concern that I have for the Bears is injuries. Like any other team except DJ Moore, it's questionable. Um, Santos, I'm not too worried about completely. Um, but I think DJ Moore played very, very good. I don't understand why you're using him in running back and wide receiver.
Give the Rook more time, baby. Let's go see some Luther Burden, babe. Come on.
I,
Let's go
that's
see him. Let him cook.
the only thing that I have that in penalties, but I think penalties just it's not necessarily a good answer. But
The only
that's
concern, I guess, if you can even call it a concern, is that over the last 3 weeks, like we talked about, is the reliance on turnovers. And even though we've won the turnover battle by a substantial margin, we've squeaked out 2 victories. So while I will agree with Coach Johnson in his post-game celebration with the players that turnovers are not necessarily always luck, if we're going to be relying on them just to squeak by an opponent, that's not the greatest way of doing things.
I'm I agree with that, but also Miller, isn't it nice to win consistently close games these last 2 games? It's nice. Having a 1 point win differential, like yeah, it was painful to wait till the very end. But I think I woke up today and I was like, we won another close one that we should have lost.
Yeah, you can say that, but I think for me, you have to learn how to win. I think there's something to that. But like to me, it's how you win a close game, right? If you have like a back and forth and the defense makes good plays, the offense makes good plays, and it's just both ends, everything's running smoothly, and you squeak one out. That's one thing. But the quality of football that we've watched these last 2 weeks for this team has been very up and down. Like last game, we had 3 turnovers and 6 points, like off of those turnovers. Like you just want to see a better brand of football. We are squeaking out the victories, and that's what's most important, as Ben always says. But like, I would just like to see the quality of football increase, and the fact that we got the Saints coming in at home, we should be able to do that.
With that being said, Miller, who's a player to watch?
Player to watch for us, huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, should have read the agenda.
You did not see that bullet point? Good lord. It's almost like someone actually knows what they're doing now.
A player to watch for the Bears. I'm gonna say Rome. I think he's gonna have a bounce back this week.
That's such an easy answer.
I know.
Honestly, Loveland. Has to be Loveland for me.
Ooh, interesting call.
Yeah. Has to be Loveland at this point.
Interesting. I mean, the rookies were more involved. Luther Burden had a good. I think he had like 5 catches. I think he led the team in targets, if I'm not crazy, or catches. But I think Rome might get a bounce back this week after his subpar performance and the touchdown getting snaked away from him.
I don't even know if that was really a subpar performance. I'm okay with how he performed. It's just very much it was just a different game. Turning it over to the other side of the football here with the Saints. Their quarterback Rattler is 6-1 right now in touchdown to interceptions. Kamara has 314 rushing yards, which is currently beating Swift. What would you say is one thing that the Saints can do to win this game?
I think the running game is going to play a big role. I think, like you mentioned, Kamara is still Kamara. I think if they can control the time of possession with the running game, they. I have Chris Olave on my fantasy team. He has moments of getting yards, but those yards are typically in small chunks rather than big chunks. So I think typically their drives are longer drives, 10 yards here, 10 yards there, slowly move up the field. So it gives us time to eventually just push the envelope and make sure that they don't get the first down. So what can they do to win the game? They're going to need to probably get some big plays going here. They're going to need to score some points against us. I mean, we're averaging 25 points a game, which is crazy for us. And so they need to score some points, and to do that, they're going to have to use all their weapons, probably including Tyson Hill. And then on the defensive side of the ball, pressure Caleb, right? If you do
Yeah.
that, anything can happen. But if this O line stays stout, hopefully.
The last 4 games the Saints played, they did not touch 20 points. So their defense really needs to produce in the sense that if it's going to be a low scoring game, they want to be on the upside. So their defense might have to do turnovers, as you had mentioned. So be on the lookout for that. All right, Miller, we're going to go into predictions. And I'm going to glaze myself, brother, because I'm 4-1 so far in predictions. And even though you guys have laughed at me so hard, show some respect, okay? I'm 4-1. You and Boopin are currently 3-2 with these predictions because Bears won, and he had predicted that the Bears. Wait, did he predict that they would lose? I don't remember. I think he said
He
win,
didn't
didn't he?
predict last week. I thought it was a loss. I
He
thought he
did
had it
say
as a
loss on the
loss.
schedule. Yes, yes. So he is now tied with you. When we did our predictions earlier in the year, we all said that this is a win for the Bears. I'm gonna go first. I was spot on when it comes to how many points the Commanders were, and so were you. We both said 24. We were just off on how much the Bears would score. So, in keeping with the law of physics, which has nothing to do with what I'm about to say, I'm going to go Bears 27, Saints 14.
27-14, huh? Okay. Well, I'm going to take a different route. I'm going
Okay.
to go with the law of gravity instead of physics.
Got it. All right. That makes sense.
And I'm going to say that the Bears are going to win 31 to 20. 31 to 20. There you go. Book it, baby.
So you think the Saints are going to score 20 points? That's interesting.
Well, didn't we just beat the Cowboys like 31 to 17? I didn't want to choose that score.
Well, yeah, that's fair. If we make our predictions, that will put me at a solid 5-1, which makes me look really good. You'll be there at 3-2. All right, Miller. It's time for the fantasy recap. Last week I gave a story about my team. I got blown out. I don't necessarily want to give a story, but I do have a question for you. from the time that you've played fantasy, which I'm assuming it was late high school, early college, around that time, would you say that this is a bad year when it comes to fantasy due to the injuries that we've been seeing?
I was wondering how you were going to frame that. I mean, it does seem like there's a lot of injuries this year. Probably, it seems like every week we're losing a key fantasy player. So, I mean, as far as injuries are concerned, I think you're probably right. It's probably worse than normal. I mean, we have a lot of people that are out for the year. We have a lot of people that are up and down, and a lot of people that are just hurt, like going on IR, not even just like small injuries. So, I mean, I don't necessarily think that you can call that a bad year for fantasy. I think if you're being honest with yourself, I think that really shows, coming from a guy that only has one team above 500, that really shows how good you are as a manager being able to navigate injuries, right? Like having a bench that could fill in. How well did you draft? Do you have that bench that can step in and fill in for those injuries? Obviously, for some teams who have multiple key injuries, like it's pretty hard to get around that. And it's just called, let's go to the bar and drink our sorrows away. But like, realistically, when you're talking about injuries occurring, it really shows who can navigate it, who can be that good manager that can kind of lead their team to the top, and who can get the waiver pickup, who can get the right guy, who can put their team in position to have a shot every week. So, but I think you are right. I think there are more injuries than we've seen in the past. Definitely last year, because last year the amount of injuries, at least to the running back position, was very minimal. Wide receivers got hit pretty hard,
I think
but
we're noticing
running
too,
backs
like
were
it's
great.
superstars that are like getting hit, or not even super, but good performers are just getting hit with it. Um,
And the other thing is like I can't remember last year perfectly, but I don't know if there was a lot of quarterback injuries. And like if you look at two of the biggest offensive juggernauts in this league, you're talking about the Bengals and you're talking about the Baltimore Ravens. And they've been devastated by their quarterback injuries. Like you look at what Cincinnati's going through with Joe Burrow being out. You're talking about T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, both probably projected top 15 wide receivers. T. Higgins is now irrelevant. Jamar Chase has had two back-to-back good games, but other before that, he was not doing very well. And then the Ravens, I mean, Derrick Henry isn't doing that. I think he had a good week this week, but then and all their playmakers are basically irrelevant. So like when you have quarterback injuries, that destroys a whole team.
I agree with you 100%. So let's talk a little bit about injuries. One of the bigger ones that I can recall from a fantasy perspective might be Marvin Harrison. I see you also have Garrett Wilson in there. Anything you want to add?
Talking about Marvin Harrison, that's like the least important.
Well,
Uh,
see, you say that, but then you're talking to a guy that has a bunch of injuries on his team. And so, from a fantasy perspective, I'm already dealing with the lowest of the lows. Also, why haven't we done this for funsies? You know what I want to do? I want to be the commissioner of a fantasy football league where you have to pick the team, and we grab their quarterback, their running backs, their wide receiver, and their defense and their kicker, and whatever they get, that's the score. Doesn't You don't get to pick players of different teams. You want the Bears? That means you get Caleb. That means you get DJ Moore. That means you get Roma Dunze. You get all of those players, and whoever performs the best
Probably
wins.
because it's a dumb idea. Like, talk to me how that's going to work. One, are you just choosing one team for the entire season,
No, you can
or
change them.
two you choose each week? Okay,
Waiver
so you get to
wire.
choose
Yep.
once a week. How are you
Waiver
going to do
wire, you
waiver
choose
wire?
it. Yeah, you do the waiver wire the same way. Yeah. It works in my head. There would be
If you,
no flex.
I
There
mean,
would
I
be
get
no
the point.
flex.
Why not? Why not?
Who would you put on flex? You have a tight
You can
end.
have three wide receivers on a
When do the
team.
Bears play three wide receivers?
This past game, I mean, you could have two flexes if you want. You have Zacchaeus, who, remember, he dropped like basically a 99-yard touchdown pass.
Mm.
And then you have Zacchaeus and Luther Burden. Those are two players that could be flex. I
Listen,
mean,
I have $1 million idea. I want to
the
run it.
idea is kind of there. I just don't know how you transition from team to team.
I think if you lose, depending on the amount of the amount of points. If you lose, if you have the least amount of points, you get the first pick on the team. That works.
So it's for all year. It's just picking.
Yeah, and
Just gonna be flip
if you
flop.
have a great team, You can keep the team.
But you're not going to have a great team. You have to switch it every week.
Or maybe I could put in a rule where you can't switch after 2 weeks. Like, you have to have a new team every 2 weeks. I don't know. The more that I'm talking about it, the more I'm kind of like enjoying this. But let's get back to hand. Is there anything else you want to talk about injuries?
So obviously, Emeka Ibuka is the Tampa Bay wide receiver. He went down with I believe, a knee injury or hamstring injury. We have yet to hear for him. But obviously, this is an explosive offense in Tampa Bay. And as of now, you have Mike Evans, who's on the shelf. Question: he's possible to return. You have Chris Godwin that's hurt. And now you have their third rookie stud wide receiver, Emeka Ibuka, who's out. So look for them to figure out what the heck's going on. There's 2 Johnson kids. The leader is going to be Tez Johnson, who could be a play this week, depending on the injuries. There are some people saying that Mike Evans could come back this week. But you have the wide receivers there, but also look at you specifically, even though I don't think you should drop Mason, the tight end for the Jets. But Cade Otton, if he is there, it might be worth making that switch. Cade Otton is the tight end for Tampa Bay. He was really good last year for a small stretch when their wide receivers are out. You know Baker's going to bake, right? You know
This
he's
is
going to
another reason.
score.
All this information you're providing just puts me at a big Baker MVP conversation.
Yeah. So you know he's going to bake. You know he's going to cook. So what's going to happen there? Garrett Wilson tweaked his knee. Seems like he's going to be out 2 to 3 weeks. And then probably the biggest injury this week was Puka Nacua. He pulled up. So we have yet to hear how long these guys are going to be out. Huge, more wide receivers down. It's crazy fantasy year, like we've already talked about. Who knows? But there is a light at the end of the tunnel for some people. Players that are possibly coming back this week for week 7. CeeDee Lamb is projected to come back. George Kittle for the Niners and possibly Brock Purdy. They could all be coming back this week. So keep an eye on them. Obviously, Brock Purdy left to the side, but George Kittle and CeeDee Lamb got to immediately get back into their lineups. I mean, CD with the Cowboys, Dak's playing at a pretty elite level. He should still fit into the role. And then George Kittle, the Niners are starving for targets. Like, they are injured all over the place. So,
Miller, can I get your opinion on this? Do you think the Cowboys is probably the one team where if they had a decent defense could be running this league right now with the offensive production they've been doing?
yeah, man, they've looked really good. I mean, they've looked better than at least I've thought they would without CeeDee Lamb, right? Going into this season, I really did think that Dak Prescott was going to have a pretty good year. Thought pairing CeeDee Lamb with George Pickens was a good call and could lead to a Bengals-like performance. Obviously, Javonte Williams has been a revelation for that team as a running back. No one expected that coming from Denver. I mean, they let him walk. They didn't even trade him or anything. They literally just let him walk. And then he comes to the Cowboys, and he's been a legit force at running back, probably top 10 running back this year, if not top 5. Just been huge for that. So offensively, it's been there, and defensively, it hasn't, which is, in all honesty, probably one of the reasons the offense has been so good is their defense is shit. So, I mean, if they had a good defense, they they will be doing well for NFL performance, but who knows how fantasy.
Right. Packers last 3 games they scored 40, 22 and 27. It was a tie, a win against the Jets, and then a loss against the Panthers. Miller, we're finishing up the episode here. Any final recommendations on who you think is available for waivers?
Obviously, one guy you got to check on your league is Rico Dowdle. I doubt he'll be there, but make sure he's for the Panthers. Make sure to pick him up if you're not. I already mentioned Tez Johnson for Tampa Bay. He might be one of the only wide receivers that are not hurt. Cade Otton, another one for Tampa Bay, could be a good performer at tight end. Quarterback, I don't know. Kind of want to go to A-Rod this week going against Cincy. Anything can happen there to keep a lookout for them if you need a quarterback. And then other than that, make sure Rashid Rice isn't out there. probably isn't, but he's coming back from suspension this week for the Chiefs. So we'll see. Chiefs could be back. Could be back, baby.
That's going to be really good for the Swifties to hear. All right. That's going to be our episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. We hope you like what you heard and you actually want to subscribe to our channel if you can. We are technically a young podcast. With that being said, maybe someday in the near future, we already have positivity coming in. The Bears are on a 3-game win streak. This is a Victory Tuesday for us. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Until then, we will not suffer in misery.